You won't believe what happened across Kenya in just a few terrifying hours. Relentless rains, streets turning into rivers, and entire homes disappearing under rising water. Right now, panic is spreading as deadly floods tear through neighborhoods, leaving families stranded, buses drifting helplessly through flooded roads, and residents watching everything they own float away. But that is not even the most shocking part. In Nairobi, terrified students woke up to find their university hostels completely flooded, walls collapsing, belongings submerged, and escape routes cut off by raging water. And then, something unbelievable happened. Passengers trapped inside buses were forced to sit helplessly as vehicles drifted through flood waters like boats, while major highways suddenly transformed into dangerous rivers. But wait, it gets even crazier. Even celebrities were not spared. Viral videos show comedian Obinna paying someone just to carry him across flooded parking areas to avoid stepping into the rising water.
Unataka kutengeneza pesa? Ukinibeba hapa mpaka pale kwa stairs nakupea 1000.
Meanwhile, the devastated family behind the Summer family broke down in tears after floods destroyed household items worth over $1 million shillings, leaving them asking one heartbreaking question: where do we even start again? And as the rains keep pounding, the situation is only getting worse, with floodwaters swallowing homes, roads collapsing, and lives already lost. Many Kenyans are now bracing for what could become one of the most devastating flood disasters in recent years. But the real story, the shocking moments caught on camera, and the heartbreaking scenes unfolding across the country, you have to see what happened next to believe it.
Ona kitu ina float to life. Get.
Allah. That's what I thought I'm leaving.
Now, let us start with the numbers, because the numbers alone tell a devastating story. At least 10 people have been confirmed dead in the Nairobi area alone, with bodies still being recovered from flood waters, drainage channels, and submerged vehicles as of the latest reports. Across the country, the toll has climbed even higher as flash floods ravaged Narok, parts of western Kenya, and the coastal region. 347 households displaced, not 347 people, but 347 entire households. Families, mothers, fathers, children, grandparents, all forced out of their homes, many with absolutely nowhere to go. Now picture this: you go to sleep in your house, your bed is dry, your children are in the rooms, your furniture, your electronics, your documents, your memories, everything is where it should be. Then you wake up at 3 in the morning and there is water rising around your ankles. Within minutes, it is at your knees. Within an hour, your sofa is floating, your television set is submerged, and your children are screaming, and you realize there is no one coming to help. That is the reality that hundreds of Kenyans lived through this week. Walls collapsed without warning, crashing property and narrowly missing people in some cases. Homes built near rivers and in low-lying areas were completely swallowed in parts of Nairobi's South C, South B, and sections of the Central Business District. The water levels rose so high that the ground floor of apartments were entirely uninhabitable within hours. And this was not just the problem for the poor, for those living in informal settlements. No, this time the water did not discriminate. Middle-class neighborhoods, gated communities, apartment complexes, all hit. The rain did not care about your rent. It did not care about your gate. It came for everyone. But that is not even the most shocking part. Wait until you hear what happened on the roads. If you are anywhere near Mombasa Road, Jogoo Road, Uhuru Highway, or Thika Road this past week, you already know those roads, they stopped being roads. They became rivers, literally flowing, dangerous rivers of brown water, carrying debris, mud, garbage, and raw sewage from overflowing drainage systems. Motorists who were caught in the downpour found themselves trapped, some for 4, 5, 6 hours, unable to move forward or backward, watching the water rise around their vehicles. There are clips circulating online, and you may have already seen some of them, showing matatus and personal cars literally drifting on the flood water, not driving, drifting, passengers inside, terrified, recording on their phones, unsure if the vehicle would hold or if the water would force its way in. In some cases, people had to abandon their vehicles entirely and wade through the waist-deep water just to get to safety. Kenyans, many of them women and children, stranded on buses that could not move, surrounded by water on all sides with no clear rescue plan in sight. The military is eventually being deployed in parts of Nairobi to assist with evacuation and to manage the chaos, but to many, that help has come too late. The damage has already been done. Business in the central business district were paralyzed, shops flooded, stock destroyed, power outages hit multiple areas as electrical infrastructure was compromised by the water, creating an additional terrifying danger, the risk of electrocution from submerged power lines and exposed wiring. And in Narok, the situation was arguably even worse. Flash floods swept through with such force that homes, vehicles, and even livestock were carried away like paper in a storm. Roads were completely impassable, cutting off communities from aid and emergency services for hours. People in rural areas had no warning system, no siren, no alert, just the sudden, horrifying sound of water rushing towards their home. Now, I want to take you to a very specific story that went viral this week, story that put a face and a name to this disaster, and the first one involves a name that you definitely know, Obinna. Obinna arrived at his apartment complex only to find the basement parking area completely flooded. We're not talking about a small puddle, we're talking about water that was knee-deep, murky, and filled with who knows what, because remember, Nairobi's sewage system was already overflowing by then. So the man is standing there, looking at his car, looking at the water between him and the exit, and he makes a decision that had the entire internet talking. He paid a security guard 1,000 shilling to carry him on his shoulder across the flooded stretch. Becky and Sama, known online as the Sama family, are known as Kenya's one of the most beloved content couple creators. The rains came overnight at their place. While they slept, the water invaded their home, and by the time they realized what was happening, the damage was already catastrophic. In videos they shared, you can see the aftermath. Water covering the floors of their home, furniture soaked beyond repair, electronics destroyed, appliances ruined, baby items, the things they had bought and prepared for the child, damaged. Now, imagine you're a university student, you are away from home, maybe for the first time, you are living in a hostel, trying to focus on your studies. Now, imagine waking up to find your hostel room flooded, your textbook soaked, your laptop, the one your family saved months to buy, sitting in brown water, your notes for upcoming exams ruined, your clothes, your shoes, your mattress, everything you brought with you to build your future destroyed overnight. That is exactly what happened to students across multiple university hostels this week. Reports confirmed that flooding hit student accommodations in several institutions, forcing mass evacuations and leaving young people stranded with nowhere to go, nothing to study with, and no clear timeline for when things would return to normal. Some students lost academic materials that cannot simply be replaced, and here is what makes it even more frustrating. Many of these hostels are in areas known to flood during heavy rains. This is not new, it has happened before. Drainage around these buildings have been a known issue for years, and yet no meaningful invention was made, no permanent infrastructure upgrades, no flood barriers, no early warning protocols for students, just the same cycle of flooding, suffering, promises, and then nothing. Now let us return to the hardest number, the death toll. As of the latest confirmed reports, At least 4 people were killed by flash floods earlier in the week, but that number rose sharply, particularly in Nairobi, where the count reached approximately 10 fatalities as more bodies were recovered from various locations. Some were swept away while trying to cross flooded roads. Others were trapped in vehicles that were overtaken by rapidly rising water. In some tragic cases, people were caught in drainage channels that turned into death traps within minutes, and each one of those numbers is a person, someone's child, someone's parent, someone's friend, people who left their homes that morning expecting to come back and they never did. Not because of war, not because of crime, but because it rained and the city they lived in could not handle the water. That reality is as frustrating as it is heartbreaking. The Kenya Red Cross has mobilized teams and provided some relief, including rescue operations and temporary shelter support for displaced families. Government agencies issued advisories urging people to avoid flooded waters, staying away from rivers, and heed meteorological warnings. The military, as mentioned earlier, has been deployed in some Nairobi hotspots, but here is where the public anger becomes impossible to ignore. Kenyans are not just angry about this specific flood, they are angry because this is a recurring crisis that never gets a permanent solution. Every rainy season, the same roads flood, the same neighborhoods go underwater, the same drainage systems fail, the same promises are made by politicians and officials, and then the dry season comes, everyone forgets, budgets are allocated elsewhere, and the cycle starts again. Critics have pointed to a chronic deprivation in urban drainage infrastructure, poor enforcement of building codes, encroachment on riparian land, and on the clogging of natural waterways by garbage and an unauthorized construction. Nairobi, a city of over 4 million people, still relies on drainage systems that were designed decades ago for a fraction of that population. Roads that serve as major arterial routes for the entire country, Mombasa Road, Uhuru Highway, Thika Superhighway, becomes completely impassable after just a few hours of heavy rains. And that is not a natural disaster. That's an infrastructure failure, and it is a failure that costs lives every single time. The questions Kenyans are asking is not just why did this happen? The question is why is this still happening? And until that question gets a real permanent, funded and implemented answer, this video or one exactly like it will be made again next year and the year after that. So what needs to change? Experts have outlined it clearly. First, a complete overhaul of Nairobi's stormwater drainage system. Not patching, not clearing drains once a year, but a full modern redesign capable of handling the volume of water that these rains bring. Second, strict enforcement of building regulations, particularly in flood-prone zones and along riparian corridors where construction should never have been allowed in the first place. Third, investment in early warning systems that reach every system, not just those with smartphones and internet access, but communities in rural areas, students in hostels, families in informal settlements. Fourth, a dedicated ring-fenced emergency response fund that does not require bureaucratic delays before it can be deployed when disaster strikes. And fifth, accountability, real measurable accountability for the officials and agencies responsible for infrastructure, planning and disaster preparedness. These are not revolutionary ideas, these are basic governance, and the fact that they still need to be demanded in 2026 after decades of the same problem is a damning indictment of the priorities of those in power. If you are watching this from an affected area, please stay safe, avoid walking or driving through flood waters. The risk of electrocution from submerged power lines is real, and the water carries raw sewage and dangerous contaminants. Follow updates from the Kenya Meteorological Department. If you know someone who has been displaced, reach out. A phone call, a meal, a place to stay, anything helps. And if this video moved you, if it angered you, if it made you feel something, share it, not for views, not for the algorithm, but because these stories deserve to be heard, because the Obinna being carried through a parking lot is not just a meme, it is a symptom, because the Summer family standing in the flooded home is not just content, it is a crisis, because those 10 families who lost someone this week are not statistics, they are us. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, drop a comment below telling me what do you think needs to be changed. And if you have your own flood story from this week, share it, because the more we talk about this, the harder it becomes for anyone to pretend that it is not happening. Kenya deserves better than this, and we should never stop saying that until it actually gets better. Stay safe, stay out there, and I will see you again in the next one.